Live, local, late breaking. This is NewsWatch 12 this morning.
Good morning. The time is 6:30 on February 9th. Welcome to NewsWatch 12 this morning. I'm Carlos Murrieta. Right now we're taking a live look out at Medford from the People's Bank on Biddle Road. We first want to turn over to Storm Alert Weather 12 meteorologist Sarah Kress for a look at our Mondays. And Sarah, as we're heading out this morning, are we seeing any traffic impacts?
I'd say along the passes is where we're seeing some bigger impacts, but also we're tracking some fog. So let's talk about those passes first. We're dealing with packed snow along 140 up near Diamond Lake, and for the Willamette Pass, we do have chain requirements in place for the Willamette Pass and the Diamond Lake area. No chain requirements for Lake of the Woods, but I'd carry those chains with you. Take a look at those roads. Not looking great heading out the door, so plan in for some extra time this morning. But notice that we're not really dealing with many showers. They're continuing to taper off this morning. You may encounter a light snow shower along the passes this morning, but in general, we're going to dry out and have a drier Monday ahead for us compared to what we were dealing with yesterday. A live look out across the region. Temperatures are a bit chilly. We're at 41 for Medford, 28 for Klamath Falls, Grants Pass here at 43 and 33 for Wairika. Along the coast, temperatures into lower 40s. Notice in Medford, we're dealing with some fog development, especially into our west side valleys. You expect to encounter areas of fog this morning. We should see improvement with that late into your morning into the afternoon, but definitely visibility is going to be poor for some spots. In terms of highs today, not as warm as last week. We have 51 for Medford, 48 for Grants Pass. Into Klamath Falls, you have a high of 45 today, so much cooler than last week. Not looking to break any records today. Now, if you're a fan of this wet weather and hoping for more on the way, good news for us. It does look like this week stays on the active side. The next system moving in tomorrow is expected to bring precipitation across the region, but better chances so far are looking like later this week. So I'll have more details on what you can expect in the days ahead coming up in your next forecast.
And moving into our top story this morning, an officer-involved shooting led to the death of a Grants Pass woman after she was reportedly holding a gun in the middle of a roadway. On Saturday, Grants Pass police respond to multiple calls of a female firing shots with a handgun on Grants Pass Parkway and M Street. Once officers arrived to the scene, they gave command to the woman to drop the gun, all of which were ignored. That's when officers shot and struck the female, and she immediately fell to the ground laying on the roadway. She was transported to Three Rivers Medical Center, where she was later pronounced dead. She has been identified as 43-year-old Alicia Shelton, and Oregon State Police are now leading the investigation with the involved officers placed on paid leave. And new data from the Oregon Food Bank shows food insecurity is getting worse in the state. In this year's State of Hunger report, data shows food assistance visits across Oregon and Southwest Washington increased 51% in the past 2 years. The Oregon Food Bank also noting 2.9 million people went to an Oregon Food Bank last year, with 1 in 7 people and 1 in 6 kids facing food insecurity in Oregon. The Oregon Food Bank says federal cuts to food assistance programs have increased pressure on food banks across the state. And moving into the traffic alert, the Klamath County Public Works Department says a road closure will be beginning this morning. State Line Road between Adams Point Road and Gaines Road will be closed from 7 a.m. today until 5 p.m. Wednesday. Traffic control measures will be in place, but drivers should use alternative routes. Checking in with gas prices around the region. A gallon of gas has risen by 9.1 cents in the last week, according to Gas Buddy. Jackson County is seeing prices around $3.69, while Lake County is near $3.63. Curry and Josephine County are close to $3.75, and Klamath County has the cheapest gas at $3.55. Siskiyou County residents are seeing $4.60 at the pump. The average cost for a gallon of gas currently sits at $3.45 in Oregon. And it's tax time, and this year, even if nothing changed, your return might. New provisions from President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act are now taking effect, including changes for parents, tips, and overtime workers. Here's a breakdown of what you need to know before you file. It's tax time, and while tax season comes around every year, filing this year may look different than last year. New changes from President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act are now taking effect. For parents, a boost in the child tax credit, it's increased from $2,000 to $2,200 for each child under 17. Tipped workers will also see a major change. The law eliminates taxes on tips, allowing eligible workers to deduct up to $25,000.
The IRS anticipates there are approximately 6 million eligible workers that can take this deduction. So we want all of them to take advantage of this new tax deduction.
Hourly workers who earned overtime may also benefit with a deduction up to $12,500. For those who sell goods or services, there are new rules for digital payments. The reporting thresholds for Venmo, Cash App, and other third-party payments have been raised.
Form 1099-K has been increased for payments made by third parties from the $600 back to the $20,000, and from no minimum number of transactions to more than 200 transactions.
Bought a new car in 2025? The law adds a $10,000 deduction of interest paid on eligible auto loans. Crypto traders also face a change. Digital asset transactions are now reported on a form called 1099-DA. All the gains and losses must still be reported whether you receive the form or not, and a significant benefit for seniors.
Anyone over 65 filing a tax return gets an extra $6,000 deduction on top of their standard deduction or itemized deduction, just for being 65 or older.
And one last tip before you file, do your research. New this morning, the Yurok tribe says a condor from the Northern California Condor Restoration Program has died. The NCCRP received a mortality signal from Condor B8's transmitter, prompting crews to rush to the bird's location in hopes of providing life-saving care. But upon arrival, B8 has already died. The remains were sent to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Forensics Laboratory in Ashland to determine the cause of death. B8 was one of 25 free-flying condors released on October 14th of 2025, and he was 2 years and 7 months old. But on the bright side of things, California condor recovery efforts are off to a promising start at the Oregon Zoo's Wildlife Conservation Center. They've seen the first 5 eggs of 2026, and keepers say they hope to see more in the coming weeks. There are approximately 560 of these endangered and sacred birds in the entire world, making each egg incredibly important. Once hatched, chicks will stay with their parents before moving to pre-release pens and eventually joining free-flying condors in California and Arizona. A closer look at some of Northern California's free-flying condors and what they mean to our local tribes can be found on our website. And beginning today, Mount Shasta will temporarily suspend operations due to low snow coverage. Mount Shasta has been the only ski park open in the region despite snow conditions and finally couldn't make enough snow. But with the snow in the upcoming forecast, officials are hoping to reopen as soon as conditions improve. A reopening announcement will be made at skipark.com. In southern Oregon and northern California are off to an unusually dry winter, with some parts of our region seeing 2 inches less precipitation than normal. NewsWatch 12 Danny Spanovich spoke with one local winery who says the impacts could stretch beyond the vineyards.
I am concerned about the lack of water in our reservoirs. It's going to have a big impact on not only the farming side of it, but the economy come summertime.
He says with a prolonged dry season, he's scared that means we're in for an early fire season.
What's going to happen to the economy in Southern Oregon come July and August? You know, we've had these in the past. People escape the valley and they don't come here. We're not seeing tourism from outside the area come to Southern Oregon. They're headed to the coast. They're headed elsewhere where the air is clean.
Low reservoirs mean limited irrigation sources for farmers.
When those reservoirs don't fill up, we don't have the water, right?
And when water runs short and temperatures stay high, that adds stress to crops.
If the days are hotter and drier and they don't get enough water, then the tree is under stress. Its defense mechanism is compromised. So that defense mechanism is compromised and the pathogens that are out there takes the advantage of the stressed trees,
leaving grapes more vulnerable as we enter the hottest months. But for now, Day is staying optimistic.
No, I still have my hopes up. We're only early February. There are many years where we get a lot of snow in February and March.
As they brace for what could be a long, drier summer. In Medford, Danny Stepanovich.
And moving into the school watch, Road Community College is planning a significant building expansion in order to address the growing workforce demand in automotive and diesel technologies. The college plans to increase its capacity by 50%, allowing it to serve approximately 225 students annually, up from the current 150. The expansion will take place at both the Grants Pass and Table Rock campuses, enabling students from Jackson County to have better access to educational programs. The decision to expand both locations comes as a response to the high demand for skilled workers in the automotive and diesel industries.
Be able to increase our capacity by about 50% for students, which will bring us from 150 students a year being served to approximately 225. And we know that that's important because our current workforce demand is 30 people a month getting hired into the automotive and diesel industries.
The school acquired 10 acres of land directly across from the Table Rock campus with state funding. Both increased costs across the country. RCC is trying to find more funding through community partners. The building is set to be done in holding classes by fall of 2027.